This office building is getting extended and converted into 4 flats by the Dugards. In this video, they give us a tour of the property and they go through the numbers. So they've currently got 29 property deals at the moment, which is mad. Watch this video to the end because they'll explain how they manage and finance so many deals at once and loads of other tips to teach you how to do the same.
This is a development in Cardiff. It was an accountancy firm before, and what we're going to be doing is extending in order to convert it to 4 units. There's going to be 3 2-beds and a 1-bed flat. The figures for this one, we purchased the property for £305,000. Our refurb is coming in at around
225, but that's with services, utilities, some of the fees.
Structural counts, sort of building control and everything like that. Just taking into account our fees as well, we actually got our fees a little bit cheaper on this in terms of our land transaction tax because we've got commercial rates, which is, I think we ended up paying something £3 when usually you're probably paying something like 15 for a place like this. So that was a good saving. And our end value is going to be coming in at around about 750, around about that. We've just had a place recently that's gone on the market. The one that you videoed before, do you remember in Cathay? They got amazing values. So we're sort of confident these are going to get even better. They're just our conservative figures at the moment. So some good uplift in that. It's probably looking at like 200-ish K profit, which is ideal.
We're currently in what's going to be flat 1.
This is going to be a 2-bed duplex, so essentially we're going to be coming in the front door here. With the area that's around there, you can see there's just dead space, so all that's going to be knocked back, so this becomes a kitchen diner area. That door over there, that's blocked up completely because that's going to be a different flat, and we're going to have a staircase up here which goes up into the second floor, basically, well, the first floor, I suppose, and it's going to have a bedroom and bathroom. We'll show you up there in a minute to show you how that works.
So there's like an area where everyone seems to be parking their cars at the moment because they're used to no one using this building, but that's where we're building our extension. So I'm sure we're going to become popular.
From here, this is going to be the back wall of that duplex flat, and this is essentially becoming a 2-bedroom flat, isn't it?
Yeah.
Extended. So it's extended to where those car parking spaces are, which we'll show you in a minute.
Yeah.
And this is essentially becoming a 2-bedroom flat as well.
Is there going to be parking still for this or not?
Say that again,
Is there going to be parking or is it just going to be like permits?
No, there's not going to be any parking, but we've got a very limited outside space for one of the flats.
We did want parking. There's at the front of the property, there's probably someone parked there right now. It's already like a bricked driveway that we wanted to utilise to be a parking spaces to come with. I think you could probably fit 3 cars there. But planning guidelines, we need somewhere for our bike shed and our bin stores. So actually what we're doing instead of the front of the property, we're bordering off and making like a communal garden space. And we'll house those things there, but it did mean we had to sacrifice the parking.
Yeah, but you have to abide by planning regulations and building regs and stuff. And if they give, a lot of the time, if they say to you, look, do these things, and you'll get planning permission, you just say yes a lot of the time. Because you're like, otherwise you're gonna have to go through these appeals, and it's gonna take ages. And that's just lost time, lost money. So here we've pretty much got the space here for our next 2-bed.
So on here we're extending up right here as well, aren't we?
Oh yeah.
So we're extending up there, we'll extend where those cars are, and then this is part of flat
3. It's a 2-bed.
because that one's the upstairs for flat 1.
The last flat is flat 4, which is a 1-bed, and there's a staircase here, isn't there?
Yeah.
So the external entry is down on the ground floor, coming in through there, which is the front door. And this is essentially becoming the staircase up to a 1-bed, and then up here, where the 1-bed's going to be.
Oh yeah.
So we've got all this space.
So we're just waiting for planning to come through on this one. It's completed prior to planning approval, but we're well within planning guidelines. We haven't pushed the boundaries in any way, so we're quite confident. I mean, at most we're expecting them to want us to reduce the extension slightly, but that's not even going to impact us all that much. And then we'll have 4 nice high-spec flats in here, hopefully ready to sell by Christmas.
A lot of the time, if you're negotiating a deal, a vendor's not going to want to wait for you to get planning permission because they're going to have interest from other people, and who they're going to pick? They're going to pick the person who can go straight away. So what we usually do on deals like this is we run a worst case scenario. So obviously we are within the planning guidelines, but we've got 4 units in here, which, you know, even though it's very unlikely it's going to be rejected, it can be rejected. So what we do is we run on a sort of worst case where we take away the length of the extensions and, you know, and stuff like that. So what's our worst case? 3 units. There'll be 3 large 2-beds. So we run it on that, and if the figures still work, say for example, if it's still making us a good amount of profit, then we go ahead with it. Because, you know, if you're running your worst case and you're still making a profit, then why not? It's about knowing what potential this building's got. A lot of people might come into a building like this and go, oh, you know, I might convert it to a house, or I can only fit in 3 units. But having that education to know what metre square the building is, what it can, you know, what potential it's got to extend to create more units, that's where you know, you can spot these sort of deals. Because this was on the market for quite a while, wasn't it? And we actually got it accepted 25 grand lower than what it was up for, because we spotted that potential, whereas other people didn't see that. The way you really get that education is just through experience and speaking to architects, speaking to builders who have that knowledge.
Because you've got 29 deals going on at the moment, haven't you?
Yeah, 29. Yeah, it's absolutely absolutely hectic.
So for people like us, like me and Bill, we're on doing our 2nd deal now, but obviously we want to get loads more deals. Is there any tips that you'd say for like managing that sort of amount of work and also raising the finance to be able to do it?
Raising finance, so the best thing that we found is you need to ask for what you want. So when we first started, you're a bit nervous. It was like we only really wanted to ask for, I remember when we put our first ever thing out trying to attract for investors, and we were like, we're looking for 20 grand and we'll take it 2 lots of 10. Whereas now we're like, minimum investment's 50k.
Yeah.
And it's you need everything to still work in your favour as well. Remember, like, yes, they're giving you money, but they're getting a great investment. They're getting a great interest rate, and the more they invest, the more security you can give. If someone's going to purchase 100%, give them a first charge like you would a mortgage lender. And if stuff's done through the solicitors, they're completely covered. So I would find, rather than having loads of different investors, I would try and target investors who have a bigger pool of money that you can work with on multiple things, and you can build a longer relationship with them. I mean, we've probably got a handful of investors now who all probably invest about $500,000 each across different projects. Then you've only got one person to update. You've got a few things they can cover at once. I know it'll take some time to build them up, but that's who I would try and attract, just for ease. In terms of having so many on at the same time, I would probably advise not to.
That is good advice.
That wasn't our that wasn't our plan. And going forward, like, we're now strategically looking at our goals for the next few years, and we're working backwards. Like you always do with deals. Like with a deal, you analyse what's your end value, and then you can work back. Well, what should I be offering? We're now looking at what do we want our monthly cash flow to be, and now we're working backwards. So, well, how many deals do we need to buy, and what deals do we need to buy? And I definitely do something like that, because if we found ourselves very quickly in a position where, because we have our own sourcing team, and it's like a sourcing machine, that we will be able to pull out deals just because we knew we had investors as well. They were great deals, and we were like, we have to say yes. We can't say no. And then, especially through COVID, I think we touched upon this when we last saw you guys. Conveyancing became like a huge black hole. Like there were solicitors who were working from home for the first time, there was furlough, there was stamp duty holidays, there was so much chaos that so many even though we were trying to stage them out, so spread them out, they go to the conveyancing process and that was it. You couldn't chase it for love nor money, they were taking too long, and then they were obviously completing at the same time. So then you're trying to think, well, I'm paying investors interest, so I need them refurbishing now as well, I can't sit on them. And then when you've got yourself spread so thin, it only takes one builder to become ill or one issue, and that takes out all of them. So the stress on top of running other businesses. So yeah, my advice would be definitely know what your capacity is and what your builder's capacity is, and then do it in a staged way, because we all do business and property to have more time, don't we? For more, like, nothing's passive, but to have more free time and cash flow. But when there's so many on at that, you don't even have a life, because there's constantly a fire somewhere, and if you've got something going on here that does take your attention from there, by the time you jump back, this is on fire again.
I think in terms of scaling up though, like
Brutal.
in terms of scaling up, I think it's the key things of what we found is leveraging other people's time,
100%.
leveraging other people's money, and having the right systems and processes and infrastructure in place. That is the only way that you can scale up.
Yeah.
It gets to a point where everything's too much for you, and you need to be training someone to be you in all these different areas and start outsourcing bits that aren't the profit generating tasks, so you can almost be the person that just overlooks things. And that's pretty much it in terms of it's the infrastructure. Then you've got to have processes and systems, so if anyone leaves the company, they can move into that role and it's there, their manual's there and it's ready to go. You know, leveraging people's time, leveraging people's money. The only way you can scale really quickly is by using other people's money. It is, unless you've got millions and millions of pounds yourself, you have to use other people's money to be able to scale up. And yeah, the systems and processes, using things like Asana and Zapier that makes things notifications so everyone's always on board, everyone knows what's going on. If one of our staff are off, for example, everything's updated in the system so someone can come into that role that day and they've got everything in front of them so they know where we're at. So that's the only way you can really scale up to you know, going from the couple of properties to then the 10s and then the 20s. But as Hannah said, 29 is a bit too much. Like, I wouldn't advise it. I think we've read a book recently, haven't we, about the 20 mile, is it the 20 mile? Just being consistent in small bits rather than trying to take on the world. That's when you get the results, because if you try and take on the world in such a short space of time, you end up burning out.
Someone who's got like 2 or 3 and they've done in the last like 2 years or something, and they want to up their game, they just do one bigger deal, or?
It really depends on that person's goals, because I think everyone's always, and I think this is from the property networks and just what you see on social media. Like, I love buy-to-lets. Like, buy-to-lets, I will want to do them forever. But everyone's always chasing that bigger deal. What's the unicorn deal? What's the bigger deal? And everyone's like, right, I've done a buy-to-let, now I want to be doing flat conversions, now I want to be doing developments. And it's kind of like, it's almost like the shiny penny syndrome still. It's got to align to what your goal is. And yes, those bigger deals are brilliant, but it goes back to, have you got the infrastructure to do so? Because when we went to do our first flat conversion, which to us was like the next level up, that made sense, natural next level up. But you go back to our first bit of analysis on that deal, and like, we were lucky we had someone guiding us going, you've got this wrong, like, you don't understand the figures, you don't understand what's involved, this isn't just going in and doing a refurb, like there's acoustic test, there's this, there's that. And I think if you're looking for what to do next, if your buy-to-lets are working but actually you've enjoyed them, they're not the most exciting projects because it is just one property that you kind of do a cookie cutter effect. But if it's that you're working full time and you want to start building up wealth for your kids, then that might be the perfect thing that you just keep doing. If you're really starting to want to have huge cash flow, well, £300 on buy-to-lets is going to take a while to build up to huge cash flow. So then you would potentially start looking at other deals. But I think it's working, going backwards, starting of where is it you wanting to achieve it, and then how do you get there? And
I'd 100% recommend going, if you're going into development and you've never done it before, obviously get some training to begin with.
Or someone to guide you.
But a mentor or a project manager that helps you through it, because our project manager has helped us so much through all these projects. Now to the point where we're fully educated on it, but a mentor could have been replaced for that project manager as well. So a mentor or project manager to guide you definitely on your first one, because there's so many things that you cannot account for. There's so many things that are different to buy-to-lets. There's so many costs, things that you just may never think of. If you do flat conversions like this one and you don't get your sound testing right, they will ask you to rip out the place. They do a sound test right at the end to make sure there's, it's soundproof between all the different flats, and if it's wrong, they get you to rip all down the walls and everything. So, yeah, that's a costly mistake to make. That's why project managers are brilliant, because they've done it. They know what it takes to pass those tests.
But if someone's doing 2-3 buy-to-lets, doing just the BRR model, and they're wanting to level up, just add another 2 buy-to-lets into the mix. But do it at a gradual stage, because the more you do, the less time you'll have doing other stuff, and people still need lives.
If you look at all the people, every single person that you see on like social media that's got bought 15 plus properties in a year, every single one of them's burnt out. Every single one of them.
We did last Christmas.
Every single one of them.
Actually burnt out, like drained.
Just completely drained to the point where they have breakdowns and they're just tired every day and they're just not enjoying it anymore. Like, you've probably seen Tej talks when he was on social media, and he openly said, I bought 15 properties in a year, but it was absolutely horrific. Harvey Grove, He's
Yeah.
bought a lot in a couple of years, and he
Our
just had a
mentors.
massive burnout. Our mentors, everyone that's done it. That's why I know when you're like keen and you're hungry and you're like, I want to go and do this. But I'm a true believer that it needs to be a consistent amount.
Yeah.
Like we're scaling down to go to like 4 or 5 a year now, because we're just like that's quite
Yeah.
nice and consistent. That's quite nice and consistent. But don't get me wrong, if you've got the infrastructure in place, then why not do
Yeah.
it? But you've got to wait to get that infrastructure in place
Yeah.
first.
100%.